game week here in Boulder and a short game week. Colorado, of course, hosting Georgia Tech on Friday. Got a chance to talk to both coordinators this week. It's kind of a tough week to ask questions to a coordinator because they're just not wanting to give a whole lot away.
Yeah, well, first off, I'm glad it's a short game week because we've been waiting a very long time for a game week, so it better be short, right? But yeah, you're right. I mean, both those guys are great, Pat Shurmur and Robert Livingston. I feel like they are definitely – it's definitely different talking to them the first day of camp as opposed to the first day of game week. But yeah, I mean, both of them are great, and obviously, both of them, seem like they're excited about what they got coming into this week, and both of them pretty guarded as well, and say, hey, we have our script, we know what we're going to do, but that's going to be thrown out the window once the game starts anyway.
And if I'm a Colorado fan, I'd prefer for them to be that way because as you get into the season, there's less and less secrets. There's so much film out there of what you're trying to do with that personnel. But for the first game, and they have to prepare for a lot of different scenarios here. So you want Georgia Tech having to spend just as much time preparing for you.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, these guys are doing different things that Georgia Tech hasn't seen. Georgia Tech's doing things that Colorado hasn't seen, and so they've had a lot of time to prepare for this one game. And Robert Livingston, I think it was him that mentioned it. He's like, look, it's been such a long time. You can watch too much sometimes, and so maybe you just got to go out there and play. And really, it's going to come down to how these guys play. And there's a lot of new faces on this team this year. Obviously, there's a lot of guys that have never been under the lights here at Folsom Field that they're ready to prove themselves. And whether it's a freshman or I think Livingston was talking about this as well, whether it's a freshman, a guy that's been here, or somebody that's coming from a new school, there's going to be a lot of newness here, and it all comes down to how do those guys perform.
Obviously a new quarterback for the Buffaloes. Ask Coach Shurmur, are you guys planning just to let it reveal itself on Friday, or is there going to be an announcement? He said that's a head coach's call. We do have a press conference scheduled with Coach Prime Sanders tomorrow, so if there is going to be an announcement, it would be tomorrow. Based on what Coach Prime said at Big 12 Media Days, though, when he said that there's really no benefit for them naming a starter, I would guess that we probably won't get one. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I would guess we won't get an actual announcement. I mean, to me, when I've watched well off throughout the months, it seems pretty clear that it's Caden Salter. But he's right. There's no need to announce it. Like, what benefit does that have outside of the walls for him to say it's Caden Salter or it's Juju Lewis? So why let Georgia Tech know exactly who it is? And so there's a lot of things that Welloff may not have shown, and maybe there's a lot of stuff that Julian's doing with that first team that we haven't seen. So I'm excited for Friday night just to see who it is. And I know you and I, we sort of have the same routine on game night. Is that we'll watch those warm-ups and like, all right, there's the offensive line. Who's the quarterback? Obviously we knew it was Shurmur the last few years, but like, who's lining up here? Who's lining up there? So I think you and I are probably excited to see, and everybody, to see those warm-ups and see, all right, that's who it is. Those are the position battles that we've seen.
And to your point, I think it would almost be a shocking development if Caden Salter wasn't the starter. Yeah. The question is, does Julian Lewis play, and if so, how much? And that's the part of it, because they are such different quarterbacks. Yeah. Make Georgia Tech have to spend some time thinking about Julian Lewis and what that would present. On the other side, Georgia Tech, they have a dual-threat quarterback in Haynes King. CU fans might remember that he started against the Buffaloes back in that Denver game when he was at Texas A&M in 21, got hurt really early in that game. And I would imagine he's going to have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder as a result of that, getting knocked out of that game. Yeah,
I would imagine he's also a much better player. This is 4 years ago. I think that was his first or second college start, and he's obviously developed quite a bit. He missed the rest of the year with that leg injury in 21, so he's a much better player. Anybody that watched Georgia Tech at all last year, he's a really good player, and I think he's he's not talked about enough. I think he's one of the underrated quarterbacks, especially in the ACC. I think they're a sleeper because of a guy like him that they could really lead them to some good things. Now the Buffs don't want to see it here on Friday night, but he's somebody you got to certainly look out for, and he's definitely a dual threat.
And Pat Shurmur said that he's having to prepare for a new defense at Georgia Tech, a new defensive coordinator there, and it's a defensive coordinator that's done a lot of things in the past. So, again, it's like how much – because you can get to paralysis by analysis if you just go too hard into it, but you also want to be ready with a plan B, a plan C, if they're doing some things maybe you didn't expect.
Yeah, I would guess, too, Pat Shurmur's been around so long that there's probably nothing that the Georgia Tech defensive coordinator is going to throw at him that Shurmur hasn't seen. It's just a matter of, have the players seen it, have they prepared for it? And so it'll be interesting to see. That's where I thought this staff, especially last year, was really good at adjustments. Robert Livingston on the defensive side was really good at adjustments. This team was so much better defensively in the second half of games usually than the first half. And so I think it's going to be interesting. That's the fun part about watching these games, is seeing the adjustments, see how teams adjust at things. And, with Shurmur last year, Shurmur openly talked about it, that, those first couple drives wouldn't be great, but they would adjust and learn what the defense is doing, and then they'd get better. And so I'm curious to see how that looks with Salter or Lewis and, with this new Shurmur offense.
Sold out crowd expected on Friday night. We'll get into more of the matchups because we do a preview predictions video later in the week. But there's going to be a lot of pressure on the front seven in this football game to be very assignment sound. I think that's maybe the first key that comes to mind for me looking at this matchup. Yeah,
for sure. Georgia Tech likes to run the ball, and this front seven we think is a strength for the Buffs, so especially that front line. The linebackers we'll see. We think they're pretty good, but this front four especially, we've really talked about them a lot this offseason, how strong they are. There's a lot of guys back from last year. I think we're expecting big things from Arden Walker and Anquin Barnes and Amari McNeil and all those guys, Jaheim Otis. So I think it's going to test those guys. We're going to learn a lot about the front seven on Friday night.
With Colorado's offense, how many receivers do you think catch a pass? Or I guess players offensively, because they're going to utilize DeKalen Taylor in the passing game as well. It's going to be a pretty long list, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like 7, maybe?
7 or 8, yeah. When you throw in the running backs, and I think the tight end's probably going to catch some passes. And is it 1 or 2 different tight ends? And is it Phillips talked about 8 to 11 deep in receiver. I don't expect 8 to 11 to catch a pass on Friday night, but you could. And so that's a good question. Let's put the over-under at 7. What do you think?
Okay. I like that. That's a good line right there. It's going to be week to week, too. It's going to be, with their wins, you kind of look back and go, that was the Draylon Miller game. And that was, I think that's what it's going to be this year with specifically that receiver position.
Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be like a one dominant 1,000-yard receiver on this team. I think you're right that there's going to be, a Joseph Williams game. There's going to be an Amari Miller game. There's probably going to be a few Amari Miller games. So.
There's going to be some DeKalen Taylor games in there too.
Right. There's going to be a Hakeem Williams game. The Sincere Brown game. So that's the fun part. Let's see who it is on Friday night. But I might go the over on the 7. I think I'm going to go 8.
Okay. Well, we got more to talk about. We've got Coach Prime's presser, and we will have our preview and predictions up later this week. It's good to be getting back to now talking about an opponent that the Buffaloes have in a few days.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Last time we did a game week video, we were in San Antonio, and we're talking about the Alamo Bowl. So it's been a long time.
All right, it's game week. We'll be back with more analysis later this week.